Alright folks, it's time for another proof of life video. This time it's a 1088 XLD with the I/O ModSystem by DropCheck. And so I've got it set up with the lid off just so that everybody can see the innards. The test bench is a little messy, but it's also open so that you can see all the different things as well. That's the excuse I'm using. Just let me roll with it here. So one of the things about this, the XLD as designed has a cartridge port, but it's on the interior. So the I/O ModSystem, what it does is it gives you an externally accessible cartridge port in addition to the compact flash hard disk drives. It also gives you a parallel port and a Wi-Fi modem port, all of which I will be demonstrating for this proof of life as we go into it. Now, the standard default for an XLD is that it's got MIDI on board. This does not sacrifice that MIDI. You've got the MIDI in, MIDI out, and MIDI through available. You've also got control of where you send power to on the whether the modem or the or the MIDI. So as usual, I've got things connected here, so I'm going to take you on a little visual tour here. So here is the internals of the XLD with the I/O ModSystem. This customer wanted a VBXE installed. Also, since pokies are becoming even more rarer than hen's teeth, the second pokey in all of my builds are going to be Pokey 1s unless somebody wants to pay the extra money for it. Pokey 1s are great as second pokies because they're designed for arcade games and they do all of the music without a problem. Alright, so then we've got the cartridge port here. I've just got an ultimate cart sitting in it. We've got the dual compact flash up front here. We've got your keyboard and mouse access. You've also got a standard audio port with your 3.5 millimeter phono port. You've got your joystick ports here and then indicator lights on everything. Also, back here on the rear panel, you've got your control for whether the MIDI is internal or external or off. Your MIDI outs, through, and in. This is your Wi-Fi. This is the Wi-Fi modem right there. Parallel port, which I've got connected to this nice 9-pin Centronics. This is a Seikosha. And then the VBXE, which was asked to be installed. This buffer board is in the cartridge port. That's what allows us to have the carts externally loaded. Okay, so I'm just going to go through, and first of all I'm going to tighten my camera mount because apparently I'm just all over the place with this. And then we're going to load you through the different functions. Over here is, outside of a case, is what I call the 1088 Bob. And what it is a video breakout box. It gives you right-left audio. It gives you your RGB through the SC1224, the standard Atari monitor. It's got composite video. It's got chroma and luma. It's got S video. And it's got the in coming from the back of the 1088, which is right. And let's see if I can get to put there, right there. Okay, right there is your standard 13-pin DIN. And then RGB for a DB9 and a DB15 set up for standard configurations. One of the things is that on the 1088 XEL, you had tons of ports for different video options that offered you simultaneous video. You still have that on the XLD. It's just all put into one port, and all you have to do is create the cables for it, or in this case, I've developed the video breakout board, and so that gives you everything at once. Let's see if we can get this to stand up just at the right place. There we go. All right, so I'm going to power this on. And you see all three monitors. It's got the ultimate cart, and so let's let's play a game, shall we? The one I always like to use is Space Harrier, simply because it really taxes the systems, and so if Space Harrier boots, it should be fine. Okay? And then...
Welcome to the family. Get ready.
It's also loud! Okay, I'm going to die. I just can't let myself die. Okay, we're going to do a rock. Here we go. Oh, I died. Okay, off with that. Okay, so again, standard joystick works like a charm. The one thing I did want to do is, now that we've shown that the cartridge port works fine, we're going to take this out just by pulling it out like this. Okay, I'm going to set this aside. I'm going to turn the MIDI to internal. Yeah, internal, see? Internal. I'm going to give motor control over here to MIDI, and then I'm going to power it up. That just never gets old. It's a little ditty programmed into the controller chip for the MIDI that plays a little "Have you played Atari today?" when you boot up. Now, it's booting to basic because what I want to do is I've got it set up so that it will boot into the cartridges. What I want to do now is I want to re-enable Sparta-DOS-X, and then I want to enable the stereo pokey, and I want to enable the PBI BIOS, because without it the hard drives don't work. And always make sure that slave drive is enabled. I'm going to have high-speed I/O enabled. If anybody's watched one of my videos before, you know that I like the sound coming from any type of SIO access, whether it's emulated with an ATR or via the compact flash discs. This is the most current version. And as always, FJC, John Halliday, has been paid a royalty for his outstanding firmware that makes the XELs and the XLDs, and really, honestly, the Ultimate 1 Megs run so well. You also may notice that this is a PAL system. That is what the customer requested. So it is PAL. We'll get a little closer there for you. And make sure that you can see everything. Okay. And it's got a VBX core. It's 6502 and it's set for XLE. Again, it's color 8. I have disabled the joystick, and that's not disabling the joystick. You saw that it just worked, but what it does is it disables using the joystick to run the menu. The reason for that is that a lot of times I like to load flashing software onto the different partitions of the compact flash, and I put the pick stick chip burner in the joystick port, and if I put it in the wrong port, which is usually 2, which is usually where this is enabled, it starts putting all sorts of menus up, and that doesn't really help me. Okay. This is for the Rapidus. It's disabled. The nice thing about the XLD is that it was built with the Rapidus in mind in terms of being installed physically. The XEL, it works on the XEL without a problem, but if you also want to have compact flash, you need to physically change the default compact flash installation. All of these commands are detailed in the manual. What? There's a manual? Yes. There's a manual that comes with every XLD build, and it looks like, voila! Ba-dum, ba-dum, ba-dum. And it's chock full of information, all sorts of good stuff, and it's spiral bound. And the reason why it's spiral bound is so that we can input changes as updates come around, as errors get found, as new information gets found. And so all of this stuff is not permanent, and we've got it all set up so that you just put in new pages. We'll send them to you already punched like this, and then you're good to go. So unlike the XEL, where I've got to explain everything to you and tell you to go read something, this comes with something you can read. All right, I want to show you the L, the loader. And so the loader, yes, save changes. The loader accesses the FAT32 and the FAT16 partitions on your compact flashes. So this one, let's go here. So we've got two compact flashes, or I have two compact flashes. This is my default setup. And there's a 4 gig and a 2 gig. The 4 gig has 4 different partitions. 2 are FAT16, so they're accessible from DOS. They're accessible from Sparta DOS with the FAT loader. And then this FAT32 partition, I can load all sorts of things on here. And in fact, one of the things I'm going to do here is I'm going to load BobTerm. Why are you loading BobTerm? So, download BobTerm from wherever, copy it onto a FAT32 or a FAT16 partition, boot it from the loader, and make sure that the rverter.com is renamed to rs232.com. And that will allow you to access the Wi-Fi modem that we saw. So I'm going to run this. Okay, first thing I want to do, I want to change the translation to ASCII. That's A. Change it to ASCII. And then hit return. Now I'm going to type AT plus config. And it's going to give me a menu. Cool thing about this. See, it says Wi-Fi. Type Wi-Fi. And it will give you a list of all the Wi-Fi networks that you can log on to. Now, here's the thing. I do not broadcast my Wi-Fi address, so I would have to turn it on. I'm not going to do that. Nonetheless, all of how you work with this is in the manual. I don't have to show you how to do it. All I have to do is prove to you that, hey, look, it's right here, easily done. It's all set up and ready for you to go. Those are the basics for it. Now all I have to do is read a couple of pages in the menu, or in the menu, in the manual, and you're good to go. Just for S's and G's, I'm going to connect this esteemed Bergerac. That's actually one of my 3D printers. And I'm going to... Oh, Wi-Fi password. I don't think there's password. We'll see if it comes on. And, didn't like that. None of these other ones do I have a password for. All of these set up and ready for you to go. So that's BobTerm. Now, so what I did is hit F12. The key is your friend. It reboots and gets you into the XLD BIOS menu. XLD BIOS, again, all detailed in the manual, but these are the defaults. You can set this to 1 meg Rambo, which is the default that I set it to. Could be a stock 64K. Could be 320K Rambo. It could be a 576 Compy Shop. But 1 meg. You could also do an OSB or an 800 OS for PAL, Altera OS, or XEGS OS. I leave it set for XLOS because that's pretty much what we need to do. But that's not the only thing. You can do Atari Basic C, Altera Basic, Atari Assembler Editor, or SynAssembler. If you want to make sure that Basic's always off, it could be like that. Or the default, which means you turn the option key, you hold the option key boot. One thing I do want to show you And let's make sure that I've got, yeah. Okay, so I'm going to boot into the graphical OS by enabling it. Okay, and then I'm going to press B to boot. Alright, that was a short interlude while I read the manual. So, here's the explanation. On the XEL, there's a button and a hardware mouse port switch. And I knew it had been changed, and I should have just gone with my gut. It's Control-Alt-M on the keyboard that changes the mouse port. So, got a little mouse here. It's doing this. And this... Okay, so every time I do one of these proof of life videos, an XLD or an XEL or an install, I always show the graphical OS. First of all, because I think it's awesome. And second of all, I figure the more people know about it, the more people might write for it, the more people that might get John Halliday to, devote a little bit of his non-existent time, because he really doesn't have any time, he's always doing a lot of stuff, to beefing up or taking this graphical OS. Now, the one thing this also shows too is, if you can see, this is really the difference between RGB, S-video, and composite. So look at this. The RGB is nice and crisp and clear. The S-video is not bad. The composite is just shite, and that's just all there is to it. But, I mean, it's doing a lot there, and for composite video to even look decent is a testament to the programming capability that FJC put on it. So it's really, there's nothing a lot that works with it here. The fact that it works at all, I think, is just outstanding. It's got a little profiler. It shows you some CPU usage and stuff like that. The windows open and close, so it's cool. To enable it or disable it, we just enable Sparta-DOS-X, and then we're going to go back and keep going. It's not Thursday, the February 3rd of 2000, so we can change this here. We just do it like we do everything. We press enter to change it, but that would take forever. So I'm going to press B to boot. Okay, now, as I've done on these other videos, people that watch them know that my setup is that I treat drives 1 through 4 as probable physical floppies, and then drives 5 up until DO, not D0, DO, which is drive 15. You can have 16 drives, 15 physical addresses, so 0 through 15, because that would be the base. So I have it set up so that E or D5 is the boot drive. I have it set up so that Sparta Commander is loaded into the RAM disk, which I set as the I drive. That's D9. Why? Because that's the default over years and years of Atari usage. Back when I got my first 130XE, if you booted DOS 2.5, it would set up a RAM disk at drive 9. So would Sparta-DOS-X. So I leave it as drive 9. I set it as, in fact, if I go to drive I right now and do a directory, you see that it's X disk. Okay? The reason that it's doing some polling is I've got the path set up, and what I need to do is I need to shift A and B after car. Otherwise, it's always going to do that, and I thought I was saving some time by switching that, because I used to have it afterwards, but it's just getting annoying. You may also notice that I've got the drive set up, the auto exec bat set up so that it changes the prompt on this so that it gets the current directory that I'm in. So if I did like there we go. Get you a little closer there. Let's go back to E. And I changed directories to Bob term. Ta-da! It tells me that I'm in Bob term. But that's just a matter of the auto exec pad. One of the reasons why I did this is to show you, let's do this. CD product directory, and then add auto exec dot bat. Let's just change this around. It's really starting to annoy me here. Okay, we're gonna set the path here. Change it to because it's looking for stuff even in that it should be looking in the cartridge for. It's looking it in the floppies, which is a little annoying. I should have car first, but there's a lot of things like U-flash and things like that I want to make sure come off the floppy. So I'm going to save, and we're going to go cold. Cool. Now directory. Yes, much better. Okay. So obviously the compact flashes work fine. One of the things I wanted to do was VBXE is on, so I'm going to bring up Sparta Commander. And you will notice that once it loads, it blanks out the S-video and the composite video screens. That's because all of the video is now going out of the VBXE. And this is standard VBXE output. It's an 80 column screen. It looks very nice. But you do not have simultaneous output to the other two because the VBXE is driving it directly through to the RGB port. Okay? So, let's put that back there. And I'm just going to do Control Q. Yes, I do want to quit. Now, if you want that kind of output and you want to see it all simultaneously, or you don't want to use the VBXE, this is what you can do. I've got it set up as a config sys. And again, read the manual. I'll teach you how to tell you how to do this. You also need to download the Sparta-DOS manual. We could have put the entire Sparta-DOS manual inside the owner's manual, but I think that's a bit of overkill. We put the basics in there. You notice I still loaded Sparta Commander. So what Sparta-DOS X has is a Graphics 8 video driver, which gives you a pseudo 80 column VBXE screen, but it does it without blanking out the others. Now, on RGB, this looks very readable, very nice. On S-Video, certainly very readable. Not as readable on the composite screen, but it's still readable. If you've got a big enough screen or a tight enough resolution, it'll look very nice. All right, so we've told you about the loader. We've told you about the compact flash drives. Taught you about the MIDI. Demonstrated the VBXE. We've demonstrated the cartridge port. Last thing I want to give to you is I want to be able to show you that the printer works. So we're going to do a control quit. Control Q, quit. Okay, and the easiest thing is to drop into basic. And we're going to do let's do 10 L print. Let's do this. 4 P equals 1, 2, 25. 20 L print. This is the 1088 XLD P 30 next P 40 print all done. Okay, and then I'm going to run this. Okay, that's running. And it's printing. And see. And 25. And then all done. Ooh, yay. All right. So you've got everything going here. You've got your handy dandy manual. You've got printer port. You've got Wi-Fi port. You've got a cartridge port. You've got compact flash. And the last thing I need to show you is I need to load up. I've got just an SiO2 SD here. Okay. And we're going to load, yes, for the VBXC. Oh, load it now. Oh, well. So when you set up multiple config sys, it will boot and it will give you the option to select whichever one. If you don't select one, it will go with the last one selected. Okay. Now, the reason why I hooked up that SiO2 SD is I'm going to do directory. Get a little closer. Directory A. Okay. And again, gives you the directory of A. This is A. And that's about it. Just in case I didn't point this out. This S2 there, that's your MIDI synthesizer. And we're going to set this to internal and on because I want to have it play wonderful music for you. Now, the last time I did this in a proof of life video, I got tagged with a copyright infringement from some of the music I was playing. So I won't play a lot of it, and I'll play a different tune. But you can download this. There's information in the manual. There's also information on websites, but I'm just going to play MIDI play XEX. Okay. Okay, the file, I'm going to do load. File is 002.mid. Load. It's going to load it from the hard drive. Okay, and then I'm going to play. And then Should just stick with the. Okay. Alright. Again, sorry for that. It's been a long week and it's only Wednesday. Tuesday. Oh, I was going to change the date and the time, wasn't I? Okay, change the date and the time. Date. It is not 2000. It is... My watch is dead. It is Tuesday, February 25th. I just said that. Okay, so 0225-20. Okay, now this is a PAL machine, so I should be clear. The date and time is set because in the auto eject bat and auto eject bat, I set it to daytime equals 1. Okay, if you remove that, well, if you don't have that in your config sys or your auto eject bat, then you're golden. Okay. Yeah. So, anyways, let's do this again. So make sure that your motor control is set to MIDI so that it gives power to the synthesizer, and it's set to internal MIDI. So we're going to do file 002 MID load play. And if that sounds a little better than the great music that usually comes out of an Atari 8-bit, it's because it's a full synthesizer in there. Now, I put a pause on it because, like I said, the last time I did this, I got a copyright infringement notice, so don't want that to happen again. But other than that, everything's set. I know this is a 3-part video. It's usually not, but I think this pretty much says everything. It all works, so I will get it buttoned up. I'll put a case on Bob there, and I'll get it put in the mail to you tomorrow. I hope you enjoy it as much as I enjoyed building it, and I hope it gives you many days of enjoyment. That's it. Talk to you later.